Crafty men condemn studies, simple men admire them, and wise men use them. Here, the writer classifies people into three. One is crafty men, cunning people. They'll always be insecure. They'll always be afraid of other abled people. That is what they condemn studies. They say that studies are nothing. Simple people, they go through the books, they read the books and find the information, they praise them, they admire them, and they never try to use it practically. Whereas, and the wise people closely observe the things, read the complete essence of it, and then they try to apply it for their personal use and for their other business, and even to find other people's solutions also. So that is what the writer clearly says. There are three kinds of people are there. One is the crafty people, always say studies are nothing, whereas the plain people, simple people, always admire the information which have been studied by them from the books. Particularly the wise people, they take the real essence from it and add their experience and find solutions for the problems of the people and so on. Read not to contradict and confute, nor to believe and to take for granted, nor to find a talk and discourse, but to weigh and consider. Here, the writer says, whenever you start reading the books, read not to contradict. Some people, they read the books only to contradict, only to oppose, only to find fault with those books, or to confute, nor to believe that take for granted. Some people, they read as if it is granted. They take very lightly and they read it. So never try to read in that way. That is the way he would like to tell you. Not to find talk and discourse. Some people read their books for what? To have some talk regarding that book in the public meetings, or whenever he meets his friends, whenever he meets his associates. Some people used to have discourses on it. Never try to read a book either to give a talk or to discourse with the people, but to weigh and consider. You weigh for it. You go for a weighing of it. How much it values. How much of information has been presented. Whether it is a contemporary world, it is suited or not. That thing is very much required for us. Simply reading and taking a clear judgment will never be appreciated. That is the thing being stated by the writer here. Some books ought to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. That is, some books ought to be read only in parts, others to be read but not curiously, and some few to be read wholly and with diligence and attention. The writer says some books are to be tasted, some books are to be referred and kept aside, and at the same time, some books are to be swallowed, some books are to be read, and some few to be chewed and digested. Some books completely be each and every line we have to read and digest, chewed and digested. How an animal chews, similar such way, here chewed and digested, he has used means that complete essence of the books are to be read number of times and kept it in the mind. That is, some books are to be read only in parts. Some books we can read in parts. We need not, we can skip. Some of the information we can skip as if we are pruning the tree branches. We may feel that they are unnecessary for us and they may be waste of our time. Others to be read, but not curiously. We don't read newspaper curiously. We read for information. Academic studies we read curiously. Academic studies then we go for very particularly because we have to appear for our exams and get our marks awarded. That's what and some few to be read wholly. There are certain books which will be not only for the academic studies, not only for the higher education, and they may be useful for career-oriented examination or career-oriented competitive examinations. So that is what some books are to be read wholly without leaving a single line from it, and with the diligence and attention, with every care and also with every attention. So here we do come across through concentration of a mind, even a big mountain can be crushed into small atoms, according to Vivekananda. Similar such way, with the diligence, with the great care, and also with the great attention, we have to read those books, chewed and digested. Some books are to be referred and thrown, and some books are to be, for the sake of reading, we have to read. Some books also may be read by deputy and extracts made of them by others, but that would be only in the less important arguments and the meaner sort of books, else distilled books are like common distilled waters, flashy things. Some books might have been read by the other people. They might have written some summaries on it or a small gist on it. If those things are read, that is enough. Instead of completely spending valuable time for reading such books. He says such books are less important books. He says they may not be such important books, so that they are compared to a what? They are compared to a distilled water. The distilled water appears to be brighter but tasteless. So he says there are books, even if they are read, they are tasteless. That is what it is better to read summary which are given by the other people of those books. Reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. And therefore, if a man writes little, he had need have a great memory. Here the writer says, reading maketh a full man, giveth, readeth, loveth, maketh, all biblical words. Perhaps in the modern language we cannot find it. All eths have been set aside. Instead of maketh, we say make. Reading maketh a full man. A man who reads lots and lots of books, he is a full man. Conference a ready man. Whenever he has a discussion with other people, he is a ready man, and writing an exact man. After reading the book, if he writes the extract of it or the summary of it, then he is called as an exact man. And therefore, if a man write little, he had need to have a great memory. If he confer little, he had need have a present bit, and if he reads little, he had need have a much cunning. A person reads a lot and writes a little, then he need to have a great memory. So that indicates the particular person is unable to write full at length, so that his memory has to be increased for that. If he confer little, he had a need have a present bit. For example, what all he had read from the books, if he does have conference with other people, there his intelligence can be expressed and he can be suited for the contemporary world. If it doesn't meet with the people and express his views, then he cannot get the other people's perspective towards him. So that's what that wit may not be developed in him, and if he reads little, he had need have much cunning to seem to know that he doesn't. For example, some people, they read for the sake of reading. Those people can't express, can't put a conference to any other people, it's because they themselves are not fit in it, they themselves are not good at it. Studies make men wise. Histories make men wise. Then what do you mean by history? History is nothing but a narration of age-old events, happenings. Here, there are two words are there. One is a knowledge, the other one is a wisdom. Knowing things is nothing but a knowledge. Whether to do it or not is known as a wisdom. Similarly, poets are witty. Generally, poets means who becomes a poet? The people who do have a lot of imagination power. They become witty. They become most talented, and they understand the each and everything of it, even minute thing. Also, they used to present it in a rhymed words. At the same time, the mathematics subtle. The mathematics is a subject which makes the people very, very sharp. Whenever solutions are found in mathematics, people will get a subtle, sharp, intelligent, or they become very, very dynamic. Similarly, natural philosophy, deeper. The people who go through it, natural philosophy, they will have a deep thoughts. They will have a deep understanding of the things. They will have a depth of the everything of it. Moral, grave. They become moral. They try to learn more morals and also grave, logic and rhetoric. These things will make them rhetoric. Their presentations will be absolutely be good, and at the same time, in case of their writing, in case of their presenting, or in case of their discussions, their all things will become a rhetoric. At the same time, able to contain abuent studio in mores. Abuent studia in mores is a Latin phrase, means studies determine character. Here, studies determine character means in spite of having all these studies, then one can have one can determine, one can face, one can find solutions properly. So that itself is nothing but a character here. Nay, there is so stone or impediment in the wit, but may be wrought out by fit studies. By having a fit studies, there is no impediment, there is no stone. It cannot be a hindrance for it. If there is a fit studies are there, proper studies are there, proper type of analytical studies are there, then the attaining of a wit, or attaining of a intelligence, attaining of that ableness is highly possible. At the same time, like diseases of the body may have appropriate exercises. The writer opines, the author opines, there are certain diseases, they can be cured with some exercises. There are appropriate, suitable exercises are there. The first and foremost one is a bowling. Bowling is good for the stone and reels. You know, in the cricket, there are four we can find. One is a bowling, batting, fielding, wicket keeping. So, bowling is good for stone and kidney problems. Similarly, shooting is for lungs and breast. Shooting is an exercise. The people who do have a shooting exercises, they can easily remove a lot of impurities from the lungs and breast. Similarly, gentle walking for the stomach. Whenever there is a bowel disorders or stomach disorders, gentle walking may relieve, may have some moments in the stomach and they can get better. Riding for the head. Whenever we go for a riding, horse riding, here meant for riding, horse riding, or maybe cycle riding or a motorcycle riding. That is good for head, he says. And similarly, like so, if a man's wit be wandering, for example, some people may be talented, highly intelligent, their mind may be wandering here and there. They cannot fix up their mind in one particular problem or one particular thing. At that time, let him study the mathematics. The people who do have a wandering mind need to have a mathematics to be studied so that they will have a perfection. They will have a balance of mind. For in demonstrations, if his wit be called away, never so little, he must begin again. Generally, when they go for mathematics or when they go for some subject, then they try to demonstrate it to the people. Then his wit called away, never so little, he must begin again. For example, when he unable to find a complete perfection, then again he has to start again. Again he has to begin again. If his wit be no apt to distinguish or find differences, for example, his presence of mind doesn't find any discrimination or distinction or differences, let him study the schoolmen, for they are Simon sectors. Why they are called Simon sectors? Here Simon sectors means you would have been come across cumin seeds. They are very small. When they are split means that is a minutest one, tiny one. Teachers also in a micro level, they try to understand the things and they do have that much research. They observe the things like that so that the people who are in dilemma, the people who are unable to distinguish whether to be followed or not, people who are unable to find differences, whether they are correct or incorrect, at that time they can observe, they can study, teachers. Here, why he calls a schoolman? Schoolmen are always be in research bent of mind. They study micro level and they are compared here with a Simon sectors. Simon sectors are nothing but that's a splitters of cumin seeds. Cumin seeds are very small one. Even if they are split means they are minutest one. That's what. If he be not apt to beat over matters and to call upon one thing to prove and illustrate another. Here, a person who thinks one thing and says something and feel in dilemma what to say, what not to say, how not to say, at that time, such people should read, let him study the lawyer's cases. So every defect of mind may have a special result. The people who think something and try to say some other thing need to study law cases. Generally, lawyers may have a single point to prove. They wanted to win the case, either hook or crook. They wanted to win the case. So they will have a very stubborn approach to reaching their goal. Similar such way, the writer, the author asks the people, those who are in dilemma, can that type of minded people can go through law studies, law cases, so that their mind defects can easily overcome from that defect. And that is what he says. So every defect of the mind may have a special result. Every defect of mind can overcome by reading a suitable subjects. There are certain subjects. Those subjects, if he tries to go for it, he can get away from the defects of mind.